Accolades can make or break an NBA player's career. An extra MVP or Defensive Player of the Year can be the difference between an all-time great and a player who gets forgotten about. So it's no surprise that we see superstars giving it their all in the regular season to not only solidify them now, but also in the history books. With that said, here are my predictions for the main regular season awards for the upcoming season. Before we get into my predictions, comment your own predictions down below, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below. Now let's get into the video. Most of the time, the coach of the year is from the team with the most regular season wins, or close to that, and not actually who coached the best that year, or else I think we can all agree that Pop would win it every year. But with this into account, my prediction for a coach of the year is Brett Brown. So yes, I think the Sixers will have one of the best regular season records in the league. The Sixers kept most of their star players from last year, unlike other teams who lost or added stars this offseason. This means less gelling time, and I know they did lose Jimmy Butler, who was their closer last season, but I think losing Jimmy was a good thing for the Sixers because his ISO style of play didn't match with Embiid or Simmons' game, and just caused more confusion on who the quote-unquote guy was on that team. I really like the additions of Richardson and Horford for the Sixers. Richardson is one of the best 3-and-D wing players in the league, and I think getting Horford was the best thing the Sixers could have done. His impact is almost that of a superstar, even though the numbers don't say it. He can create plays from either power forward or center. He can get a bucket when you need him to. He can stretch the floor, which is vital for Embiid's and Simmons' game, and his defensive impact is like no other. He doesn't block many shots like the best defensive bigs in the league, but in terms of just stopping guys, he's up there with the best of them. Horford's that guy that many superstar bigs still struggle to play against, including his new teammate Embiid, which is also why the move is so good for the Sixers. Not only did they get a good player, they also took a good player away from one of their rivals. However, I will point out that Horford isn't the best of rebounders as a big man, but I don't think that will hurt the Sixers as they have Embiid, Simmons, and Harris, who are all good rebounders. I think Horford pushes his team from fringe title contenders to favourites to win the East, and that's why I have Brett Brown as my coach of the year. The sixth man was tough for me. First of all, you're assuming that the player you predict will be coming off the bench for most of the season, but that might not be the case. And also just because there's a lot of guys that it could be. You have the obvious ones like Lou Will, Eric Gordon, Spencer Dinwiddie, but then you also have some guys that could be in that role for the first time in their careers, and they could excel, like D Rose, Gordon Hayward, Jabari Parker, and to cap it off, you have some young guys who could be in that role and flourish, like Michael Porter Jr., Tyler Hero, Bogdan Bogdanovic. But with that said, I'm still taking Montrezl Harrell, which I think is somewhat bold to say, considering his teammate Lou Will was almost an all-star the last 2 years even though he was coming off the bench. However, I don't see Lou Will closing this year for the Clippers, with his below-average defense and the additions of Kawhi and PG, but with little big man paint presence for the Clippers, I think Montrezl will get a lot of minutes this season, and I think he will still be in that 6th and 7th man role with Lou Will. He should also be closing for the Clippers as he is the only paint defender they have on their roster. He's only 25 and he's got better every year. He plays with great energy and heart. He hustles and does the dirty work, which many players don't want to do. His game is perfect as a spark plug coming off your bench. Defensive Player of the Year was pretty easy. I think Rudy Gobert will win it again, winning it 3 years in a row, and now solidifying himself as one of the best rim protectors of this era. Defensive Player of the Year, again, is another award that is somewhat based on the team. It usually goes to a player who's on a top 3 defensive team. Quinn Snyder always does a great job making sure the Jazz are a good defensive team, and with the additions of Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic, they will again be a dangerous team on defense. However, I think the race for Defensive Player of the Year could be interesting this year. We saw Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid both publicly say that they want to win the award this year. However, both of them always have nagging injuries during the season. When Kawhi is playing, he's always going to be mentioned for the award. But the Clippers came out and said they're going to be resting their stars this season during the regular season. So on the chance that these players don't play enough games to qualify for the award, I went with the safe option in Gobert. For Most Improved Player, I tend not to mention sophomore players, because you would expect most players to improve from their rookie season. But even with that, there's still so many players that could break out this season. Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, who've always been in that spotlight and had that pressure of being a Laker, won't have that pressure this year playing in New Orleans with a young team. DeJounte Murray, who was a candidate last year but didn't play because of his injury, I'm excited to see how he's developed his offensive game. Caris LeVert, who many people forget was having an all-star type season last year before he got injured. Terry Rozier, who has his own team now. If we see the same Rozier that we saw in the 2018 playoffs, then he could be up there. But for my prediction, I'm going with Jonathan Isaac. He has all the tools and physical attributes to be a great player in this league. He's 6'10" with a ridiculous wingspan, but he's also fast and agile. He's already a good defender. If he can unlock his offensive potential and be more aggressive on that side of the ball, he's going to be a future all-star. Who would have thought that the Rookie of the Year award would be interesting in a draft class with the freak that is Zion Williamson? But it will be because of Tyler Herro. The Rookie of the Year award for the past 2 years has been a two-horse race, and I think it will be again this year with these two. Don't get me wrong, I still have Zion winning the award, but Herro could shock the world again like he has a tendency to do. People were questioning the Heat for drafting Herro in the lottery. Then Herro had a really good summer league which nobody saw coming, and then he continued to ball out during preseason. So did Zion though, and he looked even better. He's everything we expected him to be, if not more. He's bullying players in the NBA like he was bullying kids in high school, and he can score in the paint at will. Even when he played against Rudy Gobert and the Jazz, he balled out. He averaged 23 points on 71% from the field during the preseason, but recently we found out that Zion injured his right knee and will miss the first few weeks of the season. They're expecting a full recovery, but whenever someone like Zion injures their knee, it's scary because he relies on his athleticism so much. If this injury slows him down when he comes back, even if he does get back to the way he was playing in preseason, it will hurt his case for Rookie of the Year. We saw last year that Trey's slow start cost him the award because Luka was consistent the whole season, and even though Trey put up a fight, Luka was still the heavy favourite. With Tyler Herro shocking the world in Summer League and preseason, people were saying that he wouldn't get enough minutes on a Heat roster with lots of veterans to take the award from Zion. But now with Dion Waiters picking up a suspension for the Heat opener, the basketball gods have gifted him a perfect situation. If Tyler Herro can bring his hot hand into the start of the season to earn himself a starting spot, and then stay at around that level of production for the whole season, we could have a very close race. The big one, the one everybody wants, the MVP. We as fans know that even though it's not stated, there's some criteria you need to meet to win MVP. You obviously need to put up good numbers. You need to be consistently good throughout the whole season. Your team needs to be a high seed, but not in all cases. And most importantly, you need a strong narrative. Whether that narrative be you're the best player on the best team like Giannis, or like Russell Westbrook with the triple doubles, Harden with the 6th man to MVP, you get the point. You need a story to win MVP, and arguably Stephen Curry has the biggest story out of any player in the league. He sacrificed putting up ridiculous numbers in his prime to play alongside KD and Klay to not only win championships, but to form one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. During those championship runs and even the ones before KD arrived, there was a narrative forming that when the lights were the brightest and the finals came around, Curry couldn't produce, and he became known as a choker. Now, whether you agree with that or not is a whole other conversation, but what I can tell you is his 0 finals MVPs doesn't help his case. And yes, I know he should have won it in 2015, but at the end of the day, no matter what we think or say, he still has 0 finals MVPs on his resume. People started to think that the Warriors needed KD, that Curry needed KD. Then KD goes down in the 2019 playoffs and the Warriors lose in the finals. In the offseason, KD joins the Nets. Klay is going to be out for the majority to all of the season, and the Warriors lost key bench players like Livingston and Iggy, and we find ourselves in a new era of Warriors basketball. Curry, apart from D'Lo and Draymond's playmaking, now has all of the offensive workload. We finally get to see Curry with a team where he is clearly the first option. The dude scored 40 points in 26 minutes. I know it was only a preseason game, but make no mistake, that's the Stephen Curry we're going to get this season, which is why I think he will win MVP. Tell me if you agree with my predictions or if you would make changes in the comments down below. Please like the video and subscribe for more content. BON out. Peace.